Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. We're going to save the beer recommendation for last, as my screen probably goes blurry here. Or freezes completely. You never know. There's an interesting story here about a robotic arm that has been developed that has basically been programmed to catch things that are thrown at it. And I mean reacting very quickly, like you would if someone throws something to you and you catch it. And I don't really know a lot about the programming here. I imagine it's quite complicated. The arm is completely, it's like all joints that I think can rotate freely, in pretty much any direction. And it's incredible to watch what happens when these people throw stuff at the arm. But I guess the way they teach the robotic arm to catch things is by throwing things at the arm and physically moving the arm into the position that it would catch that object in. And I guess through whatever means they've programmed this thing, that it learns that way by having someone physically move the arm. And of course, as I'm sure you can imagine, there are cameras involved to see the object coming at it. I guess there are cameras kind of all over the place. But it is interesting to watch. How practical is it when you need to have cameras all over the place to have this arm function properly? Maybe not that practical.
Maybe not, but I like this idea because it could really set up, we already have, like, I'm thinking for baseball, you already have pitching machines where the balls just kind of drop in and they get launched out. But this could open up a whole new way to be able to practice different stuff. Like, you could play catch with one of these things potentially. So you could also practice throwing and then it throws it back to you. I could think of a lot of very cool applications, although I'm sure, Lewis, that there are less juvenile applications as well.
Yeah, I think there could be some adult applications here. And I don't mean sexual. I don't know. Safety. Who knows? All sorts of things. Workplace safety, construction, area safety, things like that. But I would imagine that if we could somehow put the cameras into the arm itself and through some incredibly complex coding and programming, just have that those 1, 2, or 3 cameras that are in the arm itself work as the cameras that are placed around the room work, well, then I guess you've got the whole package all in one.
I mean, it's the same thing as with the first computers, right? Yeah, if you have a whole room that's a computer, it's cool, but it's not really very practical. Same thing with this. I'm sure eventually the cameras won't be necessary all around the entire room.
Right. And I guess if you want to read about this, this was in the May 12th IEEE transactions on robotics. And yes, I am sure that gets into much more detail about this arm. Here's an interesting story about New York. I kind of dig stories like this. It's about the Williamsburg Bridge. And I guess in the 1980s, there was this plan to refurbish the bridge. The bridge, as according to the article, this plan didn't happen, but it is still being refurbished, right, David? I mean, is there still work being done on that bridge all the time?
There's work being done on just about every bridge all the time, so yeah. Okay.
The plan was to put a restaurant on one of the arches, would you call them, I guess?
Yeah, one of the pillars, one of the arches, whatever.
All right. And on the other one, there was going to be a plan to have a museum on the Manhattan side that was about, what was it? I don't know. Maybe about the bridge itself. Who knows? But yeah, how cool would that be? And how much would the hipsters there love it, David, if there were a restaurant on top of the bridge?
I don't know if the hipsters would actually love it because it would probably be super establishment and really, really overpriced and kind of ridiculous. The Williamsburg Bridge is cool. It goes, on the Manhattan side, it's the Delancey Street, which has It's just kind of an interesting street. And I've walked over into Brooklyn, and you get down into South Williamsburg, which is this area that I've talked about that's filled with the Satmar Hasidic Jews. So you've got Hasidic Jews, and then Satmar Hasidic Jews are a specific group within Hasidic Jews who typically wear these very large, noticeable hats. And the history of the area is just very interesting. It's a very insular community in Brooklyn, and the Williamsburg Bridge on either side, but particularly on the Brooklyn side, has some pretty interesting stuff going on.
Isn't there some type of I don't know, some type of market or festival or something that happens underneath the bridge on a certain side? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, so
an arts thing, maybe.
There's on the Brooklyn Bridge, on the Brooklyn side of the Brooklyn Bridge, there are numerous arts festivals, and it's kind of in the area between the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. But I've never heard of anything with regard to the Williamsburg Bridge. I did go to a really weird, super hipster comedy, or not comedy, music show, this band called Francis and the Lights, right at the base of the Williamsburg Bridge on the Brooklyn side a few months ago. It was the most hipster situation I've ever been in since moving to Brooklyn to date.
And David has never been the same since attending that. He is currently seeking counseling, and we'll get him back on track here. You'll be all right, David. All right, it's time for my beer recommendation. I have 2 beers here that I've been eyeing for a long time. I've always wanted to try. They're from Japan. I'll hold up the first one here. The brewery, I guess, is called Hitachino Nest. They kind of all have this little owl in the middle, and some Japanese writing. And where in Japan are they from? That I am not sure. It says brewed and bottled by Kyuchi Brewery. So I'm really not sure. I didn't look that up, to be honest. But this stuff is kind of pricey. Even at the cheapest liquor store around, these were $5 a bottle. And they don't really come in 4-packs or 6-packs. It was all individual bottles. And they have a bunch of different kinds. There are probably 6 different kinds. This is called the Japanese Classic Ale. But according to the description, it is an IPA that follows the original recipe brought to Japan in the 19th century. And I'm not big on IPAs. David agrees with me on this one. I think David and I are just more sensitive to the bitterness than most people are when they're drinking IPAs. So, you're not going to find me reviewing many IPAs because I don't buy them. This one I wanted to try. This one, I guess, is actually matured in cedar casks. I think most IPAs, you can't really taste the wood. A lot of IPAs, I guess, I know they throw in some wood chips. Most of them are not aged in wood casks at all. And I'm sure that a lot of them don't interact with any wood at all. Would you agree with me on that one, David?
I know very little about that. So, whether it's cedar or birch, I couldn't tell you. And I just know very little about the involvement of wood in the beer brewing process.
Okay, IPAs traditionally are supposed to be stored, matured in wood casks. I have some notes here on this one. Like I said, it's really smooth. You can really taste the wood. It's not too hoppy. It's not too bitter. I actually really enjoyed it. It's not overly sweet. And incredible. Incredible IPA. Perhaps the only IPA I will buy again in the future to drink here at home.
Were there any hints of persimmon that you sensed?
None.
None, okay.
None at all.
All right.
Here's the second one. This one I would highly recommend. This one is called the Red Rice Ale, and it is made with red rice. Another beer that is made with rice, a lot of people don't know this, is Budweiser. Why did Budweiser choose to use rice? Maybe they thought it was cheaper. I don't know. You can kind of taste a little bit of that in this, but in a good way. This kind of reminds me of like a Belgian white beer.
Really?
For some reason. Yeah, it does. I don't know. Something about the rice and the way it's made just kind of reminds me of that. Almost like an Allagash white type flavor in there. But let me check out my notes on this. What else did I have to say about it? Yeah, that's pretty much it. It is delicious though, and the rice definitely gives it a unique flavor. And it was a little cloudy, so I think it may be unfiltered. But that's a good thing. I love unfiltered beers, although I can't say for sure. It's also 7% alcohol, pretty strong. But the red rice ale, I would highly recommend both of these.
All right, but Lewis, give us a little bit. What's the price point on these beers? We don't want to be recommending outrageously expensive beers.
$5 a bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, they're $5 a bottle. So it's not cheap, but if you were to go out to a bar, that might be what you'd spend on a nice draft anyway. So yeah, I think they're worth it. They have a bunch of other flavors. There was a ginger one that I tried a little of another time, which was pretty gingery and very good. And they also had some more like I don't know. There was a stout, some type of, I don't know, an espresso stout maybe, or something along those lines. But I haven't tried those yet.
Dude, this reminds me of when I went to San Francisco and went up to Napa. And I don't really like wine, but my girlfriend and a few other people were into going to some of the wineries. And I found the whole thing to be such a goof. Like, it was just, you know, they give you these wines and they explain to you, oh, this one you're going to sense citrus on your tongue. But then afterwards, there will be an aftertaste of, lavender or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, I couldn't identify lavender anyway. You know, how am I going to identify it in this drink? And I just goofed on the entire thing. I would tell the guy, I don't know if lavender, I feel like I'm sensing more lilac than lavender. And, the guy serving you would say, oh, really? That's interesting. Very interesting. Obviously, everybody I was with knew exactly what I was doing. It's really hard for me to take that seriously.
Well, I think you would probably agree with me that if you're drinking red wine has a certain flavor. Yes, of course, every wine tastes different. But in terms of the whole taste palette, red wine is kind of not that broad. But if you take beer, if you do an imperial stout and then go to like a Belgian white or a traditional light ale or a smoked lager, the tastes are completely different.
Yeah, I don't drink any red wine. Red wine to me is like ammonia. So if I have wine, it's white wine. So honestly, I can't even really say what the range is. But I know I'm not a big fan of red wine. And I know I'm from Argentina, and people always are in shock that I don't like red wine. But hey, what can I say?
I don't like it either. I don't know. It's almost like, I don't know. It tastes like something that has spoiled to me. But
once at one of these wineries, the guy inside said, we have this wine, except before it's been fully aged and before it's been filtered, you can go out to where they have a cask and you can try it. So I'm thinking, oh boy, this is not going to be good. So we go out there and the guy has a barrel on its side and he has like a huge eyedropper, like a foot-long eyedropper, and he's taking little samples of it, and it has pieces of stuff flying around in it. I tried one sip of this stuff. It was one of the most foul drinks I have ever tasted in my life. It was just disgusting. And I should have known, if I don't like a very nice, refined red wine, if they give me some of the stuff that's kind of like the pre-wine sludge that's still refining, I'm probably not going to like it too much.
Yeah, probably not. You would probably not appreciate it in a more raw form. But yeah, I don't think I would like that either. I don't like wine. I like cooking with it. That, I guess, would be the difference. If you cook with red wine, I think it's great. It can add a lot of flavor to a lot of dishes, even white wine. But yeah, I don't like drinking it.
All right, soon we'll have Lewis do a little cooking episode for us.
Oh boy, I don't know about that. I'll stick with beer reviews, I think. We'll just leave it at that.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.